but they still had, like you said, it was still locked into journalism, but it was entertaining. And at some point, I don't know if it was ratings.
I think when they started the Embrace debate, when Jamie Horowitz started First Take, that was the beginning. And Skip, of course, started at First Take.
And to me, it's not necessarily a bad thing when they keep it light. Like when we're talking about fun issues. Yeah, you can, if you're, Stephen A, trolling Cowboy fans, like that stuff like that doesn't bother me. I think the problem comes in is when you take something like a Colin Kaepernick and you see what's going on with Marcellus, Wiley, and Jason Whitlock. Like it doesn't affect them. They're making their millions of dollars and going to their nice houses in LA and everything's great. But when you have, 1 million people watching that show and the majority of them hear a black man, talk about another black man in such ways, that only perpetuates these certain stereotypes. And then they can go back and say, hey, I feel the same way about Colin Kaepernick, which may have some racist overtones to it. But Marcellus Wiley said the same thing. They said he's not black enough. So it has longer reaching effects than just, embrace the debate when you're talking about real, serious issues.
And you think about Fox and you think about ESPN, ABC, NBC, CBS, they're now covering up the kneeling, right? And where's Marcellus and Jason on that? But I want you, can you kind of describe what's going on for people who don't watch that show between Marcellus and Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley? What's going on with that in terms of the Colin Kaepernick thing?
Well, to me, it's a very simple thing. And I've said this for a very long time. If you are a black person in this society that's willing to talk, bad about another black person who's controversial for whatever the reason may be, you're always going to have a seat at the table. They're always looking for people like that. Right. And I think that we talk about would embrace the debate. Yeah. Would embrace the debate. It's all about, taking an angle. And I think Jason Whitlock realized early on that if he was, the opposite of Colin Kaepernick, he was going to bring in an audience. It wasn't going to be a black audience, but it was going to be an audience. And when Marcellus Wiley went over to that, a lot of people hoped it would be more like a Shannon and Skip situation where, they would play off each other and kind of good cop, bad cop type of thing and keep each other in line. But in turn, Marcellus decided to just go hand in foot with Jason Whitlock. So they're using Colin Kaepernick as a way to get people to watch their show. Because like I said the other day, like when was the last time anybody said anything about their show that didn't have anything to do with Colin Kaepernick? Like you don't watch their show for their, sports opinions or anything else. The only time I see it pop up on the timeline, the only time I see people write about it is when they're talking about Colin Kaepernick. And I know their producers and people like that realize that. So it becomes Colin Kaepernick, central. And you see that with other shows as well. But
all in a negative connotation. Everything.
All in a negative connotation because, and I try to tell people, ask me like, why don't I write about it or why don't I talk about it a lot, on Twitter? I'm like, because that's what they want. Like at a certain point, it's only so much you can say. So if I'm like talking about Jason Whitlock an hour of my time, I've given him exactly what he wants. He doesn't care what my opinion is. He doesn't care that I don't think whatever he said is right. All he cares about is that my 100,000 people now wondering what did Jason Whitlock say? So let me go to his account. Let me go to their, videos and stuff like that. So it's using people's anger to create ratings. And it's kind of a crazy thing. Like I always say, I understand it because, I manipulate certain things for my own views and everything. But when it gets to serious topics, like it's one thing to me if you talk about Tristan Thompson and Khloe Kardashian or an IG model in somebody's DMs. It's totally different when you're talking about sexual assault, social justice, like you said, the NCAA, robbing things. Like there is a time where you have to stop the foolishness and
they're not capable. They are not capable of doing that now.
Yeah, that's what bothers me. It's like, okay, do your thing and everything, but when we're on a real serious topic, you're hurting people by these quote unquote takes.